Bonjour, j'espère que vous allez encore très bien. We are going to see this time in this lesson le passé composé in French with myself, your French teacher online Pascal and FrenchSpanishOnline.com. This one is the first part. We are going to explain carefully this tense, le passé composé. So let's start to say first le passé composé is the past tense, not related to the present, speaking about a fact, an event, but we don't really are interested in the duration of this event. So it's just to speak about a fact, an event in the past. For this reason, le passé composé in French may be the translation of the preterite, the English preterite, but also the English present perfect when it is not related to the present. So two tenses in English and one in French. Okay? So why it is called passé composé? Well, because the sentence is like this one. You need a subject in your sentence, then an auxiliary verb, finally the past participle. In French, we've got two auxiliary verb. It may be avoir, and in English it is to have, but also in French it is possible to have être or to be. So two auxiliary verbs. In this lesson, because it is part one, we are going to speak about the auxiliary verb avoir, just this one. So let's start with an example. J'ai mangé. So here we have the correct structure. Our subject, for example here, our verb, the auxiliary verb, and the past participle. The translation is I ate or I have eaten. Manger is to eat. J'ai mangé, so maybe the translation of these two English tenses. Let's see some examples to understand better. If you want to say hier, j'ai mangé des pâtes, so because you've got here hier, yesterday, you understand that in English we are going to use the preterite. Hier, yesterday, I ate pasta. J'ai mangé des pâtes. J'ai mangé des pâtes. Le passé composé, it was yesterday, nothing to do with the present tense. J'ai mangé des pâtes 3 fois dans la semaine. Again, it is a past event, and because we have the expression 3 times in the week, in English, we are going to use the present perfect. I have eaten pasta 3 times in the week. But in French, you can also use le passé composé. J'ai mangé des pâtes 3 fois dans la semaine. So now you understand that there's 2 tenses in English and 1 tense in French, le passé composé. Here is the conjugation of this tense. J'ai mangé, tu as mangé. Of course, you remember that when we speak fluently, you are going to say t'as mangé. Il a mangé, elle a mangé, on a mangé. Nous avons mangé, vous avez mangé. Ils ont mangé, elles ont mangé. Pay attention to the place of the adverb. I have eaten well. Well is the adverb in English at the end of your sentence, but in French it is between the two verbs. J'ai bien mangé. J'ai bien mangé, it is the only place of the adverb bien between the auxiliary verb and the past participle. It could be j'ai beaucoup mangé, I have eaten a lot, j'ai beaucoup mangé, or j'ai assez mangé, assez meaning is enough. J'ai assez mangé, always between the two parts of this compound tense. Another example, but this time with a pronoun. So where are we going to put the pronoun it? You ate it. Well, tu l'as mangé. In this case, in French, is just before the verb. Tu l'as mangé, L' is it. Okay, so when you have an adverb between the two verbs, when you have a pronoun, it is before the two verbs. As you can see in the examples we have just seen here, j'ai joué, for example, elle a chanté, to jouer is to play, chanter is to sing, nous avons parlé, parler is to speak. Well, as you can see here, there is no agreement. Here, for example, elle is feminine, but chanter, we don't need to add an additional E. Nous is plural, but there is no S here. Why? Because actually there is no agreement between the past participle and the subject of our sentence. So, it seems to be always invariable in this kind of sentences, short sentences. J'ai joué, elle a chanté, nous avons parlé, no agreement. However, there is an agreement, and here comes the rule, and this rule is a bit complicated. There is an agreement actually, but with a direct object. So not with the subject of your sentence, but with the direct object, if of course there is one. And this direct object must be placed before the verbs, before the past, before le passé composé. So let's explain that, because it seems a bit confused. In English, I ate apples. Apples is here the object, and you can say it is the direct object because there is no preposition between the verb and the subject. It comes directly after the verb, so it is the direct object. Pomme in French. I ate apples. But in this example, apples is after the verb. So in French, we are going to say j'ai mangé des pommes. And here, as you can see, there is no agreement because the direct object des pommes is after the verb. Des here is not the preposition, is just the plural form of the infinite article une. J'ai mangé une pomme, and the plural is j'ai mangé des pommes. So here there is no preposition. Des pommes is the direct object, but it is after, so no agreement. Let's see now if you want to replace pomme, which is plural and feminine in our example, with a pronoun. This pronoun will be les, but of course les is also feminine and plural. Okay? In this example, now it is before our verbs. Je les ai mangés. For this reason, and to follow the rule, you need an agreement between this pronoun les and the past participle manger. So you need es at the end, the mark of the plural and feminine for pomme. Je les ai mangés. Actually, this rule is for writing, because when you speak, you can't understand, you don't see the difference between these two verbs, as we don't pronounce the end of this verb. So, je les ai mangés, it's interesting to know that you need an es when, again, the direct object is placed before the verbs. Another example is les pommes que j'ai mangées, so the apple that I ate. Again, here, pomme is before the verb, so there is an agreement, and you need es at the end of your past participle. Okay? So it's what you need to know about this lesson. If you want to know now a bit more when you've got direct and indirect object in the same sentence, you can go to my website. There is more explanation and an exercise to be sure you understood this lesson about le passé composé in French. Allez, maintenant c'est fini. Alors, au revoir et bon français.